Hi everyone, it's Chris and welcome to my channel, The Vinyl Orchard. Thank you for popping by today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. It's lovely to have you along. I hope I can earn your subscription. And if you're a regular to the channel, well, thank you very much for coming back. Your continued support's really appreciated. Now, the other day I shared a video on my favourite 1980s hard rock classics. And one of them was from this album, Flying in a Blue Dream by Joe Satriani. And I chose the song, one of the few songs that he sings on actually, which is on this album, called Big Bad Moon. I think it's a tremendous song, great hard rock song. Now, this is a guy who's renowned for his instrumental stuff though, really. And it's quite hard to create an instrumental song, I think, because, you know, the guitar has to create the melody and the hook. And that's quite difficult, I think, in some ways. But he seems to manage it really well. So what I thought I'd do for you today is share with you, I think, the greatest rock guitar instrumentals ever recorded, and I've got about 50 of them, and I'm going to start with the same guy as I've just shown, Joe Satriani, and the title track from this album, Surfing with the Alien. I think Surfing with the Alien is brilliant. Satch Boogie is also fantastic on here. There's a number of really good songs, but what I've got for you today is probably the best part of 50 rock guitar instrumentals that I think are just sensational, and what a great way to start with Joe Satriani and Surfing with the Alien. Okay, we're going to go back though quite a long time before that album. That was a mid-80s album, I think, and we're going to go back to mid-60s, and kind of not where it started, but certainly because that would have been maybe with surf stuff, but I'm going much more for the kind of rock guitar stuff. So you've got to start with, I think, the Blues Breakers, John Mayall with Eric Clapton. There he is, Eric Clapton on the Beano, often called the Beano album. But there's a couple of instrumentals on here, Hideaway being one, which is a Freddie King song, I think, and a song called Stepping Out, which is a great instrumental. I first heard that, I think it was on probably the Friday Rock Show, where Tommy Vance, I think it was, used to play that in between kind of songs, just as a kind of a background tune. I love the tune. It was a song that inspired Lazy by Deep Purple as well. So Stepping Out, great guitar work on that. Now, the Blues Breakers also produced a number of other guitarists, of course, Peter Green being one of them. This is one of his solo albums that lots of people forget about, because if you're not into kind of psychedelic guitar, you're not going to like the end of the game. And the opening track on here, Bottoms Up, is just psychedelic guitar. It's out of this world. It's brilliant. I love it. And that's Peter Green, Bottoms Up, from the end of the game. Moving on now to Harvey Mandel. This is an album which I think it's usually called Baby Batter. This is a repress of it called Electronic Progress. But Harvey Mandel, I think, was in Canned Heat, but then also played with the Blues Breakers. But the opening song, Baby Batter, has got some brilliant instrumental guitar on it. Fantastic, really, really wild stuff. Love it. Into the kind of late 60s now, and it would be remiss of me not to include my favourite band, Deep Purple. They did a couple of instrumentals. One of them is on here. I don't think they're great proponents of that, because they generally had really good vocalists, so why would you want to do many instrumentals? But there is one on here. It's called Ring That Neck. Now, if you are in North America, then that song's called Hard Road. They changed the name for the North American market. But from the Book of Taliesin, Deep Purple, Ring That Neck, which live extended over like 30 minutes. Yeah, wild stuff. Richie Blackmore also he didn't do many side projects actually, but one of them he did in 71 alongside Ian Pace, and I think it was Roger Glover as well from Deep Purple, was this one, Green Bullfrog. And there's an instrumental guitar piece on here called Bullfrog, which he plays alongside Albert Lee and I think, is it Jim O'Sullivan, I think, the other guitarist, or Jim Sullivan. And the title track is absolutely wild. It's a fantastic guitar instrumental, good, you know, fast pace to it, really up-tempo song, great guitar. Wind it on about 5 minutes and it's, you know, unmistakably Richie Blackmore on his Strat. Richie Blackmore obviously went on to form Rainbow, did a number of instrumentals actually. There's probably a couple of instrumentals that came after this. Some of them were B-sides as well as album tracks, but I think the best one comes from this, and it's a version of the Yardbirds song called Still I'm Sad, which live they did add the vocals to, but on this album is an instrumental, and there's some fantastic guitar work on it. So Still I'm Sad by Rainbow from the album Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. Now that's a Yardbirds song. One of the main guys obviously from the Yardbirds was of course Jeff Beck, a fella that was renowned for instrumental guitar. He famously sang on Hi Ho Silver Lining, but the majority of his stuff was instrumental. so that gives you a plethora of choice when it comes to that. But I'm going to choose a song from this live album. I always really liked this live album alongside Jan Hammer, and really, really good album. And Freeway Jam, which I think is on the album Wired, I think, if memory serves me right, is just a brilliant version on here. Absolutely tremendous. So that's Jeff Beck and Freeway Jam. Now, Jan Hammer also appears on this album, and if you're talking instrumental guitar, you've got to go into the kind of jazz fusion area occasionally, and of course, this was one of the first albums in that genre, I think. This is The Inner Mountain Flame by the Mahavishnu Orchestra with the guitarist John McLaughlin, who initially made his name with playing with Miles Davis. And the opening track of this album, which is called Meetings of the Spirit, the guitar work on that is absolutely wild. What a player he was. Now, that album also features Billy Cobham. Billy Cobham's first solo album in 72, 73 is Spectrum, which features a very young guitarist who was starting to make his name on the rock circuit, and eventually would make his name in Deep Purple, and would sadly die in 76 or 76 at a very young age, about 25 I think he was, and that's Tommy Bolin. And there's about 4 songs which feature guitar on this album with Tommy Bolin, and the opening track is the song I'm choosing, a fantastic instrumental called Quadrant 4, where the guitar work is brilliant. Tommy Bolin is really shredding on that song, and so that's my next pick, Billy Cobham and Quadrant 4, featuring Tommy Bolin. So I could include Tommy Bolin. Now, there are some instrumentals on here. Marching Powder is a good example, but from the sessions for this album, it spawned an instrumental which is one of my favorite instrumentals of all time. I haven't ranked these, but this would be very, very high. And it comes from the sessions for Teaser, and the song is called Crazed Fandango. Now, there's various versions of this, Smooth Fandango, and various versions of Crazed Fandango. Some are better than others, but it's an absolutely amazing guitar workout. So if you like kind of, a little bit more fusiony guitar, Crazed Fandango by Tommy Bolin is going to fit the bill. Tommy Bolin also turned up on another jazz fusion drummers album. This is Mind Transplant by Alphonse Mouzon. What a cool looking dude he is. And he plays quite a bit of guitar on here, about 5 songs on here, Tommy Bolin. And the closing song, I think it's a closing song, the one before, the closing song, Nitroglycerin, is a bit like Quadrant 4 in a way, but it's got that kind of really incendiary guitar work on it. Fantastic instrumental, great drumming, of course, but brilliant guitar work from Tommy Bolin. Nitroglycerin by Alphonse Mouzon from the album Mind Transplant. Now, let's stick with jazz fusion drummers. So this is the Tony Williams Lifetime, or the new Tony Williams Lifetime. This is an album from about mid-70s, I think, something about 74, 75-ish. This is called Believe It, and this features Alan Holdsworth, who was hugely influential on a number of rock guitarists, actually. And on here, we've got a number of fantastic kind of jazz fusion-y guitar instrumental songs. The song I'm going to choose is the second song. There's a number I could have chosen on here, if I'm honest, but Fred, guitar work on that is absolutely breathtaking. Alan Holdsworth could really play, and I think he was better when he played with other people than when he did solo stuff, and that's also to the fore on this album, which is Jean-Luc Ponty, who played, who did he play with? Did he play with not Return to Forever? Weather Report? No, can't remember now. It'll come to me. Anyway, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Jean-Luc Ponty, but also had a number of solo albums. There's quite a few I could have chosen by him, but the one where I think the guitar is really to the fore is from Enigmatic Oceans, which is from 77. And there's a kind of the title track, Enigmatic Ocean, which has got part 1, 2, 3, and 4, especially part 2. The guitar work on it from Alan Holdsworth is absolutely superb. It really is. The drummer on that album is a guy called Steve Smith, and although he's not a drummer on this next album, he was part of the band eventually, the kind of famous version of this band, if you like, and that band's Journey. The drummer on this album actually is Ainsley Dunbar, who, probably be quite well known to a lot of rock fans. But this is the first album from Journey, a very different Journey to Don't Stop Believing Journey that was in sort of 81 with Steve Perry. But this is the one with Neil Schon and Greg Rowley when they left Santana to create a new band, and there's quite a lot of of that, not Latin stuff, but much more fusion sort of stuff. There's a few good rock songs as well. Of a Lifetime is definitely, but the song Topaz on here is a brilliant guitar instrumental, and I thoroughly recommend that. They've done a few. Nickel and Dime is pretty good from their third album, and Cahutek, which is closes side one on this album, is good. But Topaz by Journey from their debut, wonderful guitar. So obviously Greg Rowley and Neil Schon were in Santana, not in this version of Santana, but they were in Santana. And if you're going to include, guitar instrumentals, you have to include Santana. And I'm choosing generally the kind of more kind of wild guitar stuff. So I'm going to choose a song which I think is one of their most played songs in live concerts, and there's a live version on this half studio, half album, double live album that came out in '77, Moonflower. And the song closes this album. It's called Toussaint L'Ouverture, and the guitar work on that is just sensational. It's good in the studio, but live it's just brilliant. Now, although again he's not on that version of Santana, Mingo Lewis played percussion in Santana for a while, and this is, I think, his first solo album. This is called Flight Never Ending, and there's a song that I think it does close the album. I think, yes, it does. Flight Never Ending, the title track, closes the album. I don't know who plays the guitar. I should have looked that up. I can't remember offhand. I don't think he's well known as such, but the guitar work on that is just absolutely off the chart. It's wild. So Mingo Lewis, Flight Never Ending, from, I don't know when this album is. I've got no idea. Mid-70s, let's say. But the title track is absolutely fantastic. Mingo Lewis played with a variety of people other than Santana. He also played with Aldi Meola. And if you're going to talk about guitar, you have to talk about Aldi Meola. So I'm going to choose something from Elegant Gypsy. Now, this guy could really play. He was in Return to Forever, wasn't he, this fella, for a while. And there's a number of really good songs on here. But Race with the Devil on Spanish Highway opens up side 2, is the song I choose from here. Absolutely wild guitar. This guy could seriously play. He could play kind of all kind of genres, acoustic as well as electric. But Race with Devil on Spanish Highway, wild guitar. Okay, he also, Aldi Meola also rocks up on this album. Lenny White, who had played with Return to Forever, hadn't he? He'd been the drummer in Return to Forever. This is his album, his first solo album, called Venusian Summer. And there's a track on here that does feature Aldi Meola, and it also features Larry Coryell. And it's not very often that those two play on the same song. In fact, I can't think of another song where they do. But there's an 11.5-minute song on here that builds up. It has a fantastic atmosphere to it. And it builds up to this wild guitar work, kind of exchanging kind of runs at the end of it. And it's called Prince of the Sea. So Prince of the Sea by Lenny White, featuring Larry Coryell and Aldi Meola, from the album Venusian Summer from, 75-ish. On that album, there's a great bass player called Stanley Clarke. And Stanley Clarke, this is one of his solo albums. This is maybe his third, fourth solo album. This is called Journey to Love. This is from the mid-70s as well. There's a song that closes out side 2, and I'm trying to work out who does the guitar on it. I think it could be David Sanchez, who's played with a variety of people over the years. But the song Concerto for Jazz Rock Orchestra is 14.5 minutes, and some of the guitar work on there is absolutely breathtaking. David Sanchez could play it all. He was kind of a multi-instrumentalist. I don't know if he sung as well, but he probably could, and probably did it really well. He's a fantastic musician. Okay. I mentioned Richie Blackmore earlier on, and obviously one of the guys who ended up playing with him on, I think, 3 albums was someone who played on a whole variety of other people's albums, and that was Cozy Powell, wonderful drummer. Left this world in 98, I think it was, sadly, in an accident just up the motorway from me, actually. But a fantastic drummer. This is his second solo album. The first one was called Over the Top. The third one is called Octopus. This is his second one, which I think is from 81, I think. This is called Tilt. And there's a song on here called The Blister, which is a really up-tempo, guitar-orientated instrumental. And the guitar work on it is just fantastic. It's breathtaking stuff. Really fast runs, and it's Gary Moore playing it. Gary Moore was such a brilliant player. Again, another guy who sadly left us. What a wonderful player he was. I saw him solo a few times, and with Thin Lizzy. He was absolutely superb player. But he made his names in a whole variety of genres. So that's a hard rock kind of instrumental. But he also played the blues. He also played heavy metal and hard rock, and he also played jazz fusion, and he did that brilliantly on 3 Colosseum 2 albums. This is the second one, Electric Savage. And I've mentioned this song before. It's called Intergalactic Strut, which really showcases Gary Moore at his very best when it comes to jazz fusion. What a great guitar instrumental. On that album, on this album, is Don Airey. Don Airey was a keyboard player, again, like Cozy Powell, played on a whole variety of people. From Rainbow to Black Sabbath to Michael Schenker, a whole variety, Gary Moore, a whole variety of people. And obviously he'd also played with Deep Purple. He played in Deep Purple at the time where the guitarist was Steve Morse, American guitarist, often voted one of the best guitarists in the world for a number of years, technically brilliant. I don't know if he always suited Deep Purple, actually. They did some really good songs with him. But a great guitar player nonetheless. And this is a solo album from, I think, the mid-80s. I'm trying to find it on here. 84. And the opening song, Cruise Missile, is fantastic. Shows his technique absolutely to a T, but is a great guitar instrumental. Cruise Missile by the Steve Morse Band. Steve Morse had been in Deep Purple, done some solo work, and also played with a band called Dixie Dregs. This is an album by them called What If. And this is a song, if you're from the UK and you have a certain vintage like I am, you'll know the first song, even if you don't know it. Dixie Dregs, Take It Off the Top. And if you don't know it, well, it's the theme tune to the Friday Rock Show with Tommy Vance. Fantastic stuff. Now, one of the rock shows, I can't remember which one it was. It might have been called Rock On, possibly. Can't remember. But that was an instrumental that came from this band, Whitesnake. Now, they didn't do many instrumentals because I don't think David Coverdale would not want to be part of the spotlight. But this is the album Trouble, which is the first Whitesnake album. And there's a song on here called Belgian Tom's Hat Trick, which is a Mick Moody song. Mick Moody is the guy who always wore the hat. And that was a song, a theme tune for a BBC radio program. I think it was called Rock On. I'm not sure. Now, thinking about other brilliant BBC radio programs, one of the most influential for me personally was John Peel. And he always used to start with a particular theme tune. That theme tune, I don't have the album it's from. This is a compilation, a Capricorn label compilation, which the band who played that song is on. It's a cover, and I can't remember who did the original offhand. I'm not saying it's Freddie King, I can't remember. But the band is Grinder Switch, and a kind of a southern rock band. And the song is called Picking the Blues. It's an absolutely fantastic, got a slow build up, and then it speeds up, and the guitar work is just brilliant. But Picking the Blues by Grinder Switch. Again, if you're of a certain vintage and used to listen to the radio, you'd know that song. If it wasn't by name, as soon as you hear it, you'll know it. Okay. Now, the Friday Rock Show introduced me to loads of music. I used to be glued to Tommy Vance every single week from 10 till 12 every Friday night rock show. And one of the bands that did a session, which really interested me when they did a session for Tommy Vance, was a band called Brand X. This is the side project of Phil Collins when he was in Genesis. And they did a number, because they were a jazz fusion band, loads and loads of instrumentals. But the opening track on here called Nuclear Burn is absolutely, I love that cover, by the way. It's a fantastic cover. I really like that. But Nuclear Burn is brilliant. What's the guy, John Goodsall, is it, the guitarist? Just sensational. Brilliant stuff. And the next song I also remember hearing on the Friday Rock Show, and it comes from this album. So this is Love Drive from '79. By German band Scorpions, and I remember buying a single off this, which was Another Piece of Meat, which is on green vinyl. Brilliant song, I think, which has Michael Schenker playing a guitar solo on it. But there's an instrumental on here which I think is tremendous, and it's called Coast to Coast, which is a Rudolf Schenker penned instrumental. Really, really good song. Obviously, Michael Schenker did a solo on that album. His brother's on that album, but he had a career with UFO, but also, of course, with his own band, the Michael Schenker Group. Now, he always did instrumental stuff. Into the Arena from his debut could have made it onto this list. The live version of that with Cozy Powell on the drums is fantastic. But this is also, this album, Assault Attack, which is the only album he did to feature Graham Bonnet as a vocalist. There's instrumental on here, which is fantastic. Now, the drummer on here is Ted McKenna, who I think played with, who did he play with? Was it Sensational Alex Harvey Band? Can't remember now. Ted McKenna, absolutely brilliant drummer, fantastic drummer. And the drum work on the instrumental on here is brilliant, as of course the guitar work is sensational as well. But the track is called Ulcer. So if you've not heard that, it's a brilliant hard rock guitar instrumental. This is another band that I remember first hearing on the Friday Rock Show. The song I heard was a song called Road Racing, and I went out and bought the album, and it's a US band, I think they're from New York, and it's called Narita, the album, and the title track is called Narita, obviously, and that's an instrumental, and it closes out side one, and it's superb, it really is. Brilliant stuff. Next guy is the first band I ever saw live was Montrose. They supported Status Quo. I don't actually remember them. I was only 11 at the time, so I don't really remember them. But Montrose were the support band, and the guitarist Ronnie Montrose, who was obviously in the band, Montrose gave him the name clearly, went on to various things, Gamma and also solo career. He did an album in the late 80s, kind of replicating the Joe Satriani feel with lots of guitar instrumentals. And this album, which is called The Speed of Sound, which is I think from 89 or 88 or something around there, is a fantastic guitar instrumental album, very kind of space and plane orientated. And the song I'm choosing opens up the album. It's called Mach 1. Fantastic guitar instrumental. Now, thinking of a kind of a plane theme, I nearly didn't include this, but I think the guitar work on this is absolutely wild, and the melody of it is fantastic, and it's the Top Gun theme. Now, you'll know that from the kind of start of the film. It's got a very and the refrain, I think, goes through the whole film. But the guy who plays it is written by, was it written by Jan Hammer? No, Howard Faltermeyer. But the guitar player on it is Steve Stevens, Billy Idol's guitarist. Does an absolutely he's a great guitarist, Steve Stevens, but that is a brilliant guitar instrumental. This is a little bit of a cheat. It closes off side one. It's the track that leads on from Bringing On the Heartache, and it's Switch 625. Brilliant instrumental from Def Leppard. Really, really good stuff. Also, how about Colosseum Rock by Stars, the band with the greatest band logo ever created, but the title track from that is absolutely brilliant. That's a slightly different tack, a band that possibly you wouldn't have alongside Stars, but that's Chicago, or as they were called then, Chicago Transit Authority, their first album. There's a song on here called Liberation. The guitar work on it is absolutely stellar. It's superb. The guy's name is Terry Kath, again someone no longer with us, died a long time ago, but Liberation from this album, oh, if you like guitar, it's just brilliant. This guy, saw him live in about 81. He's mad, but the band that he was in, more of a garage rock band, I think, prior to him becoming metal, but this is probably the last one he did with this band. This is Tooth, Fang and Claw by Ted Nugent's Amboy Dukes. And there's a song on here that he did as a solo artist as well called Hibernation, which is, again, really good melody to it, actually. And it's hard to do a guitar track that's not just a wild guitar solo to have a melody. That's got a really good melody to it. So Hibernation by Ted Nugent's Amboy Dukes is fantastic. If you like it loud and raucous, then you got to go for Pink Fairies from Kings of Oblivion and Raceway. You have to do that song if you like it noisy and loud. If you like something that's a little bit different, maybe got a slightly jazzy feel, but then also has a rock element to it as well, the title track from this album, which is a 1979 album by Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, Tales of the Unexpected. The instrumental Tales of the Unexpected is fantastic. It's got a jazzy solo on it, but then it kind of flicks a few switches or pedals and it goes into this brilliant kind of rock guitar instrumental as well. So great song. Also been playing a lot of this band recently, Man for Man's Earth Band. the guitarist Mick Rogers can really play. He knows his way around a guitar, that fella. And this is the album Nightingales and Bombers, and the song Countdown on here is a glorious instrumental with some wonderful guitar from Mick Rogers. One of my favourite live albums of all time, without a doubt, is On Your Feet or On Your Knees by Blue Oyster Cult. A close to perfect live album. A couple of songs come out and a couple of songs back in. Astronomy, Stairway to the Stars would have enhanced this album beyond belief. But a brilliant album nonetheless. And Buck's Boogie, which is a showcase for Donald Roeser, or Buck Dharma as he's commonly known. They were a great band live. I also saw The Next Guy live, and I remember thinking, there's a really weird smell here, and it was dope, and it was Steve Hillage. And this is the album Green, and the glorious on riff is a brilliant guitar workout. Absolutely love it. A little bit so Steve Hillage is often seen as a little bit proggy, and this band certainly are as well. Moon Madness by Camel. This, I think, features their greatest song, and that's Lunar Sea. It's absolutely sensational. The guitarist, Andy Latimer, again, he's someone who really knew his way around a guitar. Just an absolutely brilliant guitarist, and Lunar Sea is superb. Ice is another great instrumental by them as well. A band that didn't do many instrumentals come up next, because Camel did quite a lot of instrumentals. This band didn't. I can think of one called Genghis Khan, one called Lost for Words, but my favourite of them all comes from the first Iron Maiden album. It's called Transylvania. I remember seeing them do that live at Reading. Fantastic. They're a really tight band with great guitar players. Okay, last few, folks. Thank you for hanging on this long. If you're talking about guitar instrumentals, you've probably got to think about two of the most influential guitarists of all time. And of course, I'm thinking about Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. Now, it would have been easy to choose from the Woodstock album, of course, the amazing version of Star Spangled Banner by Jimi Hendrix. But listen to Driving South from the BBC sessions by Jimi Hendrix. Oh, glorious stuff. Absolutely brilliant rock instrumental. And of course, you've got to include Eruption if you're going to have a guitar instrumental list. 3 left, and I haven't ranked these today, but if I were to rank them, these next 3 would be very, very high up. In fact, I did an instrumental 45 video quite a while ago, and my favourite one was by Dutch band Focus, from the album Focus 3. The song is Sylvia. It's not wild, the guitar, but the melody line in it is absolutely brilliant. I remember that song when it came out in 72, and I still love it now. Guitar work on it is brilliant. Jan Ackerman, what a player. But Sylvia, beautiful song. The final 2 are 2 of my favourite instrumentals of all time. The first one comes from a band I've seen several times live. I've seen them do this live, and I think the live version of this song is great. The band are Rush. The album is Hemispheres. The song is La Villa Strangiato, but I think the definitive version is on Exit Stage Left. I did see them on this tour. They were brilliant. I saw them on the Hemispheres tour as well. They were fantastic. Permanent Waves tour, just brilliant. La Via Strangiata is an exercise in self-indulgence. I think they call it that anyway. And it is, but the guitar work on it from Alex Lifeson. Wow, what a guitar player he is. As is the next fella. This guitar instrumental, there is a version of it I possibly prefer. It's a little bit jazzy. It's from a later live album, but this is just a brilliant live album. Of course, it's the Allman Brothers live Fillmore East, and the song is In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, which features, of course, Duane Allman, but it's written, and the main performer is Dickie Betts. Absolutely brilliant. There is Wipe the Windows, Check the Oil, which is a double live album from after this. Has got a really good version. It's a whole side of vinyl. It's quite a lot jazzier, and that's really good as well. But In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, wow, one of my favourite rock guitar instrumentals. There we go. Quite a long video, a lot of songs. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'm sure I've missed some, but they are, for me, are the greatest rock guitar instrumentals ever put down on a record. Thanks very much for watching, and I'm sure I'll be back sometime with another video. Cheers.